In today's video, we're going to be talking about the newly released Helsmiths of Hashut. We're going to be going through how to play them, we're going to go through some list building, and we're going to go through all of the units. Okay, so we're going to start with the battle trait. Now, the question is this battle trait good enough for us to specifically want to just play Helsmiths of Hashut? So is it going to be strong enough to basically discourage us from wanting to soup? And I think so. I definitely think it is. When you look over the entirety of the Helsmiths warband, it's very much a combined arms warband, where you have to use all your different buffs. You've got to use your battle trait. You've got to use things like Hateful Hail and all of your abilities all together to make one piece or two pieces into this crazy, overwhelming, damaging super piece. And if you don't do that, your damage is kind of middling. That's what I'm going to say. So I definitely think that you want the battle trait. What does it do? We're going to be gaining, just like in Age of Sigmar, we're going to be gaining demonic power points. The way you're going to be doing this is by using your ability Leave to Land in Ruin. And how are you going to be using your demonic power points? Well, when you activate your fighter, you're going to say, I want to use 1, 2, or 3 demonic power points. If you use 1, you're going to add 1 damage to each critical hit. Or if it's a missile attack action, you're going to add 1 damage points to a single critical hit. If you add 2, you're going to get +1 strength for that attack action. And if you have 3, you're going to get +1 attack. The things that you have to remember about these points is that they are cumulative. So if you use 3, you get the bonus crit, the bonus attack, bonus strength. And on top of that, your demonic power points do not just disappear when you hit the end of the turn, so they do carry over. Now, the way I see you wanting to use this is using your Leave to Land on Ruin, basically on turn 1. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Gaining a whole bunch of power points ready to go for turn 2, and kind of wanting to spend at least 2 or 3 points per turn. So I expect that you want to have a steady supply of power points coming in, and then just keep on using them for your attacks to, again, give that overwhelming power. Now, the question is, how do you generate them? And we're going to be generating them through the Leave to Land in Ruin ability. This is a double. Everyone has access to it apart from your Hobgrots. And effectively what you're going to be doing is you're going to be picking every single obstacle touching the battlefield floor within 3 inches of the fighter, giving it a desolation token, and then they are desolated. And then they'll start producing demonic power points starting the beginning of next turn. Now, what I do want to say about this is it specifies obstacle touching the battlefield floor. The most common type of terrain is obstacle, and an obstacle, to give us a reminder, is any part of a terrain feature that prevents the fighter from moving horizontally and extends more than 1 inch vertically from the battlefield floor. So, for example, a wall is an obstacle, but those really short, like tiny walls that are less than 1 inch, they don't count. So that's really what we're going to be looking at. Now, it does mean that this is going to be battlefield dependent, but as most battlefields have a fair amount of obstacles, if you're playing on Heart of Gur, there are basically obstacles everywhere. I don't think it's going to be too much of a hindrance for your game or for your abilities. One additional thing that I do want to say is that a terrain feature can be made up of multiple different kinds of terrain. So, for example, if it's like a ruined building, the walls will be obstacles, the upper floors would be platforms, the door would be a door, any debris would be low terrain. So what you need to do here, and I think this is very important in terms of this warband, is talk through it with your opponent beforehand, what kind of pieces of terrain you have, what are obstacles, what are impassable pieces of terrain, what are low terrain, what are platforms, that kind of thing, because it will be very important for this ability. Now, the question is, how far is this ability? And it really depends on the infantry piece that you're using. Your basic fighters are going to be on 28.5 mil bases. I've got a diagram here showing you just an example Heart of Gur layout, exactly how many pieces of terrain this thing covers. So if you manage to get your little dude, your demolisher, your whatever, into this position, you'll be marking 3 points of terrain, and from the beginning of next turn, it's going to be generating 3 points. Now, there are bigger fighters. You have the Big Cow, the Dominator engine, you've got that, and you have your Centaurs. They will have weird and wonderful massive sized bases. In the case of the Dominator engine, you can see it here. I've marked this on this diagram for you. It's going to be hitting 5 pieces of terrain. Despite the Dominator engine being massive on its 80 mil base and hugely unwieldy, I think it would be quite useful just to be able to pop as many pieces of terrain as possible and to generate your points. Now, what's the other ability that has synergy with your battle trait? It's your quad Daemonic Empowerment. Again, everybody has it, where the fighter is treated as having 3 demonic power points for the rest of the battle. Now, it's important to mention that having demonic power points effectively adds the abilities and all the bonus strength and all the bonus attacks to their first attack action made by that fighter this activation. So what it doesn't mean is that you get to go, okay, well, I'm going to start my activation, spend 3 demonic power points, then use demonic empowerment, and then get my 3 demonic power points, and then get 2 empowered abilities, attacks even. That's not how it works. So what the cohort basically does is give your first attack +1 crit damage, +1 strength, and +1 attacks. That's what it does. But as we're going to see, there are other abilities in here and other powers that work very well and very synergistically. They also got a reaction. Disposable Lackies. Warriors, Helsmiths of Hashut, remarks, they can use it. So basically anything apart from the goblins. What they get to do, this is actually pretty fun. If an enemy fighter decides that they want to attack them, they can react to Disposable Lackies, and they get to pull a goblin from 3 inches away into base contact with the thing that is attacking them, and then the target of the attack shifts to that goblin. Now, goblins aren't great. They will die, but what it does allow you to do is keep your basic guys alive for a lot longer than they would normally. You're going to see that we have a lot of support pieces in the warband that aren't really using their melee attacks or their range attacks, but they want to use their abilities to full effect. So having this reaction, Disposable Lackies, with a nearby goblin just to be able to throw it at things to make sure that you don't die, I think is invaluable. It seems pretty strong, and it could be pretty strong, but of course, what you're doing in this case is you're using up one of your actions to be able to throw a goblin at the dude. I think is comparable in the amount of damage that it can save to something like the Lizardman reaction, but this thing has the massive advantage that if there's huge overkill, like in this scenario that I've given you with the Fulminate Crusher, just the entire goblin dies and you wouldn't take additional damage on top of what you got. So it's a good reaction. I kind of like it. Going on to the fighters, we're going to start with the heroes. We got the War Despot. You got the stats here. Pretty good. Not bad. 175 points. Decent range attack. Whatever, right? His stats basically do not matter. The only things that matter to this guy are the 25 wounds, the toughness 5, and his double Black-Hearted Conqueror. This is wild. You pick 3 guys, and they get to make a bonus move action of up to 3 inches. There are no other movement tricks in this warband that you can use on another fighter. Your Bull Centaurs have abilities that get them to do bonus things when they move, but the War Despot is what's going to keep your warband moving, especially when everything's basically movement 3 apart from a couple of guys. So you're always going to want to have a War Despot. It's well worth 175 points. I like the idea of taking 2, because then what you get to do is it doesn't matter which deployment you're looking at. If it comes on first turn or second turn, you can put 1 in separate deployments, 1 each, and then you always get the War Despot to your bonus move on a double. It's great. If you have 2 doubles, you can go activate War Despot, use Black-Hearted Conqueror, move 3 guys, wait, activate War Despot again, Black-Hearted Conqueror again, move 3 guys. You get a lot of bonus move actions, and it's great, this fighter. You're going to always want 1. That's long and the short of it. That's what you want. Then we got the Daemonsmith, a lot cheaper than the War Despot. We're moving into like normal wizard stat line territory now. His double is Demon Smithing. So you're going to pick a guy. If it's an enemy guy, it's going to go -2 toughness. If it's a friendly guy, you're going to add 2 toughness. And if it's terrifying, the only thing with the terrifying remark is the Dominator engine, you're going to do a heal. So I think this is the weakest out of all of the fighters, but we're going to see it's got special synergy with the Dominator engine. The Dominator engine's attacks, its shooting attacks, are strength 2. So if you can get a thing down to toughness 2 or toughness 1, the Dominator will shred. We're going to take a look at it. So I think the Daemonsmith is the weakest one, but it's not bad, let's say, for 125 points. Ashen Elder, I think, is going to be your second hero of choice. Again, stat line is fine. 140 points is fine. It's triple, though. Furnace Blessing, we're going to pick a friendly fighter. +1 attack, +1 strength. That's it until the end of the battle round. That's fantastic. I've said already that we want to be using the battle trait in conjunction with your abilities to be able to push attacks kind of over the top and do extreme damage onto a thing. And the Ashen Elder is really one of these pieces, and this triple is one of these pieces that you want. Because if we think back to our battle trait, we activate the Ashen Elder, we use Furnace Blessing on, say, one of the guns. That gun is going to get +1 attack, +1 strength. Then when the gun activates, it gets to go, okay, I'm going to use 3 demonic power points to go +1 attack, +1 strength, and then turn 1 crit into a hit. 1 hit into a crit. So that's really what pushes the damage like way over the top. So this kind of combined arms playstyle is really what it's about. I think the Ashen Elder is going to be your secondary hero. I think we're going to be bringing the War Despot anyway. So it's either going to be War Despot, Ashen Elder, or double War Despot. That's what I can see when we're building lists. Your rank and file guys are Infernal Cohort. They're dwarves. They've got 12 wounds, toughness 5. That's absolutely fine. Their stat lines ain't bad. Like, really, 3 attacks, a strength 4 or 3, 2, 3. I love that 2-3 damage profile. Nice and tight. Because they are both 85 points, I think most of the time we're going to be taking the spears, giving up that strength 4, especially with the changes to counter. Just being able to crit high is great. Just being able to have that additional, like, small bit of range, I think is awesome. They do have a really good double discipline march. +2 moves, they go up to movement 5. But they get to move even if they're within 1 inch of an enemy fighter. So this breaks the kind of engagement rules. I know there's no such thing as engaged in Warcry, but it breaks those rules where you normally can't make a move action. So they become very hard to pin down. Normally, if they would want to do their move action, they would have to disengage first and then do a move, which gives them a total move of 6. But this thing will give them a move of 5, and then they can go move, so they get to move 10 instead of 6. Don't discount that. It's a great ability. I think it's really good. I think you'll probably want a couple of Infernal Cohorts. We're going to see that your actual damage pieces are fairly expensive. So a couple of Infernal Cohort, I think, will be fine. We have Moogong, Cowgong, Gong Cow, whatever. This guy, Infernal Cohort Musician and Gong Carrier. Same price as the Infernal Cohort. Stats aren't great. It loses a point of toughness. Keeps us 12 wounds. That's pretty good. Its ability, it's a good ability. Sacred Gong. So we remove Gong carriers, so the little grot. Any Gong carriers that are on the battlefield, you remove them. This is a double, by the way. And then it's +1 attack of melee attack actions for Helsmiths warrior remarks, so not the goblins, when they're within 12 inches of a Gong carrier token. There are a lot of other abilities like this in Warcry. Usually they only have a range of 3 inches and they have some kind of activation ability to use, and they're on a triple. This is the only one that has this far of a range and is on a double. But what you've got to remember is that it only targets in-house stuff. So the things we're really going to be targeting are your Infernal Cohort, and if you wanted to run this kind of Infernal Cohort-based lists, they'll go up to like 4 attacks at strength 4, 2, 3, which is good for 85 points. But that's really what they're going to be targeting. So if you're going to be bringing a couple of Infernal Cohort, I think bringing a Gong Carrier is the way to go. You can't stack the abilities because you need a Gong Carrier token to be able to use it. So you can move the Gong around during your turn if you really wanted to with multiple doubles, but you're never getting more than +1 attack. The War Despot becomes decent at 5-4, 2-4. That's kind of okay, but it's nothing over the top. So I think in the context of this warband, the Gong Carrier is fine. If it was in any other warband, it would be straight up busted. Now, let's talk about guns. You've got 2 kinds. You've got blunderbusses and you've got flame hurlers. Same stats as the Gong Carrier, so 12 wounds, toughness 4. Their melee attack actions, not all that much to talk about, really. They have 2 individual abilities, so let's talk about the damage first. The Infernal Cohort with Blunderbuss, on a normal attack, it's strength 5, right? 2, 5, 2, 4. It's strength 5, so it's going to be winning on 3s. We're looking at, if it's going to be winning on 3s most of the time, it's going to be doing like 3 damage, basically. 3s and 4s, on average 3 damage. It's going to be doing a lot more damage than this, right? It'll do way more damage than 3. Why? You've got its triple, Hateful Hail, which counts 1 hit into a critical hit from the next shooting attack action. Okay. That stacks with demonic power points to give this thing strength 6 and 3 attacks on its first attack action. And on top of that, you get to use the Ashen Elder's Furnace Blessing to make it strength 7, 4 attacks, with the first crit doing 5 damage on the first attack. Now, on the first attack action, that's going to do, on average, between 9 and 10 damage. That's a lot of damage, okay, for a 155-point fighter. Yes, it requires you to have like a triple and 3 demonic power points and pump that into your blunderbuss, but like I said, that's kind of how this warband works. it does the thing, it pumps up a thing to ridiculous levels, and then it either deletes a fighter or it cuts a fighter in half. That's how we're going. And this really is the main source of damage that you're going to have in your warband. So I expect you to have 1, maybe 2 blunderbusses. Flame hurlers are better. So again, 1, maybe 2 flame hurlers. We're going to check that out in terms of list building, how I think this will go. But this is where it is. The damage is here, and you have to pile on all the additional abilities of these guys to make them really, really good. Let's talk about flame hurlers, though. A pretty neat damage profile. I kind of love it. 6 inch range, 6 shots, 2 damage. So he's winning on 5 or 6 shots, which means on average it's going to do 4. Like, that's it. That's what it's going to do. It has an ability. The double is very good. Scorch remains. If you allocate any wounds to an enemy fighter, which statistically you will, that fighter cannot use any abilities for the rest of the battle round. Let's take a look at the actual stats of these. They have 12 wounds, which means something like a Vexmore needs to do a crit and a hit on its 2 dice to be able to kill them. 2 hits won't cut it. And if a Vexmore cannot use Onslaught for the extra +1 attack, it's not going to be able to easily kill an Infernal Cohort in 1 shot. So these are really, really good control pieces. I really, really like them. Like I said, 125 points. I think that's awesome. Demonic Power isn't so good here. Yeah, you could use 2 points, 3 points for +1 attack to make the first attack 7 shots, but it doesn't really do all that much. And again, they're strength 1, so then they'll go up to strength 2. There is that combo there with the Daemonsmith to make things -1 toughness, -2 toughness. So that might be able to do it. If you go +1 strength, -2 toughness, you can get a whole bunch of extra damage in there. But that's really where they are. They're going to be winning on 5s, average 4 damage. But you know what? 125 points, average 4 damage. That's 8 damage over 2 attacks. I think that's pretty good. It's worth noting that these guys, most of the time, get 2 attack actions off. The reason for that is that you have your War Despot, and he gets to use Black-Hearted Conqueror to move his things about before they actually have to do anything. So I think these are great. I think you're going to have 2, maybe 3 guns. That's where we're going. We also have, as our basic rank and file guys, Hobgrot Vandals, 65 points, not a great stat line. They're basically just there for the reaction and for numbers. Nice thing is, though, Black-Hearted Conqueror does affect them. It does not require the Warrior Rune Mark, which these guys don't have. So if you have Hobgrots and you wanted to build a solid core of Hobgrots, maybe you wanted to go like Black-Hearted Conqueror, Hobgrots, Guns, and that's the build that you wanted to go, you can still use that to get a whole bunch of free move actions on these guys. So they're fine. They're not broken by any means. They are expensive for their stat line, but I guess the point is that Games Workshop does not want you just spamming out Hobgrots and the best things. Bull Centaurs and Anointed Sentinels. I expected them to, 1, be tougher and to have more wounds, but this is what they are. They are 180 points. Movement 9 is really, really fast. 5423 is fine on the Bull Centaurs. That gives them, because they are strength 4, on average, if they're wounding against toughness 4, they're going to do 5.8 damage. But again, they get to use demonic power points to go up to strength 5 on the first attack with maybe 6 dice, turning hits into crits? No, +1 damage on crits. So that's not bad. They do have a triple Crush the Unworthy. So if you do a move action that ends within an inch of your opponent, you get to make a free move action, kind of phasing through enemy models. As long as you end within 1 inch of an enemy fighter, then we get +1 attacks for the rest of the activation, but you've already done a move action, so you're basically going to get 1 attack. So what does this allow you to do? Walls and Screaming doesn't work on them to start with. They have a massive movement, and being able to use Crush the Unworthy to teleport through enemy fighters to get to where you want to go is really good. It's potentially very strong. That 1 attack, though, what is it going to do? You're going to be hitting with 6 dice at strength 4, doing 2, 3. Again, if you put Demonic Power into this is really where Demonic Power is meant for, because Demonic Power only works on the first attack action, and they're only going to get 1 if they do Crush the Unworthy. So they'll be like a 7, 5, 2, 4 is what they're going to be. That's not bad. I kind of like that. I think they are a very good piece, like kind of glass cannon piece. I've used a lot of Hellwraiths in Nighthaunt, and I think these guys will basically do the same kind of thing because they get to move 9, then move 9, and then do an attack action. So I think that's all right. I don't think you're going to want more than 1. On the off chance, maybe you want 2. But I think 1 Bull Centaur is where you're going to be. I also think 1, if you're going to bring 1, you're going to bring either a Bull Centaur or an Anointed Sentinel. So let's look at those guys. 4-5-2-4, so a bit more strength, less attacks. They got range though, which is nice. So what are they doing? Zealous Counterattack is their triple. In the lore, what Anointed Sentinels are, they're like bodyguards for your heroes and for the actual like Chaos Dwarf bits. They get better if they are closer to those fighters. So that's what they've tried to encapsulate with this triple. If they're fighting an enemy fighter within 1 inch of another friendly fighter, that's Helsmiths of Hashut and warriors, again, not goblins, you get a +1 to hit, with the stipulation being that they would have had to make a move action that turn. So you move, use the triple, get +1 to hit. Now, this is, as far as I know, the only +1 to hit in the game. So what this means is that you're 4-5-2-4. Let's say you're hitting on 3s. You use Zealous Counterattack, now you're hitting on 2s. And because it's +1 to hit, any 5s that you roll become 6s. So you're basically hitting on 2s, critting on 5s. That's what it allows you to do. And then you can use Demonic Power to get a bonus attack, a bonus point of strength, and a bonus point of crit. So if you charge in, use Zealous Counterattack, use Demonic Power, you become a 5-6-2-5 on the first attack, basically hitting on 2s and critting on 5s. I like that. I really like that. I like that a lot. The question is, are you going to be bringing these, or are you going to be bringing Bull Centaurs? And I think it depends. If you wanted a Alpha Strike fast, that kind of piece, I think Bull Centaurs are where you want to go. If you want something that's a bit more defensive, I think Anointed Sentinels are where you want to go. Because if they do not get to fight within 1 inch of a friendly fighter, Zealous Counterattack basically does nothing. So I think that's what we're going to do. I think we're either going to bring Centaurs or Sentinels. Most of the time I think Centaurs, but Sentinels, when they work, they're going to be great. Now, here it is, the Cow Dreadnought, Dominator engine. There are 2 builds. You got Bane Maces, and you have Immolation Cannons. This thing is on an 80mm base. With Bane Maces, it's a very average profile, but it has a double Demonic Furnace, which is -1 attack for all visible enemy fighters within 3. So it basically becomes near unkillable with its toughness 7 and its 40 wounds. So it's the kind of thing where you just put on an objective and you say, come at me, bro. And its base is big enough that we'll be able to hit most things because it's got, what, an 80mm base plus another 2 inches of range. So it effectively allows you to cover an entire objective with just Mooman, and he will do moon things. It's worth noting that Demonic Furnace, it doesn't have to be targeting. The attack doesn't have to be targeting the Dominator engine. It can just be within 3 inches of it. So again, it's a very defensive piece. I think the one with Bane Maces, it's going to be an ass to move. Let's not lie. It's going to be problems moving it around the board with an 80mm base and only move 5. So I don't think this is the one where you want to go. I think the one where you want to go is the Dominator engine with Immolation Cannons. 300 points, same defensive profiles, which is great. It's got a token melee profile, but look at that range attack. It's 12 shots at strength 2, doing 2/2 damage. It's only 5 inches of range, so it has an effective threat range of 10 inches if you want to move an attack, potentially more if you wanted to push a rampage into it. You can combine it with Furnace Blessing and 3 Demonic Power Points to make it a 14-5-2-2, which is a frankly ridiculous profile. And then one of them on that first attack becomes crit 3. Now, how much damage does this thing do anyway? On its 12-2-2-2 profile, it's going to average 8 points of damage. 8 points of damage is good. At range, 8 points of damage is really good, especially if you are able to shoot twice. The damage kind of goes wild if you manage to hit on 3s. If you ever manage to hit on 3s, the thing's doing 16 damage because it just rolls so many dice. It's more likely with this kind of combined arms philosophy that we've been talking about, you're going to be able to hit on 4s, which does 12 damage. Now, the question is, for 300 points, is 12 damage good? Other things do more. Fulmarists do more. Gutlords do more. But they don't all do it on a 40 wound toughness 7 profile at 5 inches. Now again, it's got that problem where it has that 80mm base. So it's going to have issues getting to where it goes. You can use Black-Hearted Conqueror on this to give it free moves of 3 inches, but you won't be able to be moving, because its base is so big, you won't be able to be moving over pieces of terrain with it. You're going to have to move around things. So that's a big balancing factor in this. It definitely does the most damage out of anything in the warband, 100%. I think this might be a trap. I'm not entirely sure. I definitely think Bane Maces are a trap, but this thing kind of does everything that the Bane Maces do and better for, like, what, 5 points more. So if you want to bring a Dominator, I think it's fine. Build it with the cannons or Magnetize the Fists. That's the best advice I can give you. Now, they're brand new, so how are we going to build a list with these guys? For you numbers guys here, I've got the numbers in front of you. I've got all of the stats, how much damage they're going to do, hitting on 3s, 4s, 5s, all this kind of thing, their average damage. And we have my kind of weird proprietary score that takes into account a whole bunch of different things. So what are the best things in the list? The most efficient things are cohorts with blades, then cohorts with spears, because blades do the most damage for the amount of points that we're talking about. Flame hurlers are fantastic, so that's why I think we should be bringing 2 flame hurlers. I think that would be pretty good. Then Sentinels, Centaurs, etc., etc. And it goes all the way down to Infernal Razors with Blunderbuss. But we know that Infernal Razors with Blunderbuss aren't the stat line that you see on paper. They are the stat line that you see on paper plus all the points and plus everything. So, with all this in mind, let's do some list building. If you're watching this and you are one of the 30% of people who's managed to make it more than 30 seconds into my video, which means you actually care what it's about. So if you want to see more videos like this, there are a couple of things that you can do. You can give me a like, you can give me a subscribe, put a comment down in the comment section below. Tell me what you think about the video itself. And if you want to give me some more support, you can come and join me on Discord. You can join my Patreon. You can join me as a channel member right here on YouTube. But for those of you who are already watching, a big thank you for myself. And let's get back to the video. So what I've done is I've kind of split the warband into manageable chunks. And the idea is that we can mix and match these chunks and hopefully come to some kind of a conclusion as to what kinds of lists we would build. They're roughly like 300-ish points. So we're going to pick from a couple of heroes. We're going to pick a shooting contingent. And then we can just add a whole bunch of extra stuff to it. And between these, I think any combination of this will make a nice, solid core warband for you. I think for your heroes, you're really going to be looking at double War Despot or War Despot and Elder. The Elder gives, is it Furnace Blessing? Furnace Blessing, I think it is, and really does all the buffing. For shooting, I think you always want 2 Flamers for 125 points each for just a flat 4 damage at 6 inches with that ability to turn off other abilities. I think that's great. I think you're going to want 2 of them. I think you're going to want maybe 1 Blunderbuss, because the Blunderbusses, when they are like boosted, they do really good damage. There is a world in which case you could do like quadra guns, 2 flamers and 2 blunderbusses. 3 flamers might be a thing though. I'm not necessarily recommending quadra guns if you're bringing 2 leaders, just because your warband isn't going to be big enough. Maybe that's something you want to look into. And then you're just going to need stuff for numbers. Are going to be 3 cohort or 4 goblins. If you want to bring a Dominator, that's 300 points. If you want to bring a bull centaur or a sentinel, you can bring one of those with a goblin, fit that within that little package, and mix and match with these. So what kind of list ideas do we have? I have a whole bunch of different things that I want to try out. Overall, I think you want to shoot for 7 to 8 fighters just because that's how the game works. I don't think you're going to have enough durability at 6 models with enough damage output at 6 models to be able to really play the game properly. So 7 to 8 fighters, I think that's where we're going. I think most lists are going to have 2 to 3 guns. I really like double War Despot because, like I said already, on turn 1, you want a War Despot on the field to move your things around and get them into place for turn 2 so they don't have to move and shoot. And that allows you to do that. The real damage in the warband is either the guns or mass cohort. If you wanted to go mass cohort, I think a gong bearer build with like 1 gong bearer, a bunch of cohort could be a thing, or like 2 gongs, a bunch of cohort. That might be amazing. If you're going to bring cohort anyway, I would bring a gong just because they're the same price. If you want to bring small cows, like I said, I recommend 1 small one. You could go 2 if you wanted to, but bear in mind, because yeah, your guys are 85 points, but that's not super cheap. Yeah, you could bring goblins, but then it's just the cows that have to do heavy lifting. The numbers don't really add up. So what kind of lists could we build here? I think mid-range guns, this one, is possibly going to be one of the best. So double war despot, a pair of flamers, a blunderbuss, and then just like goblins. That could be the thing. You can reach 10 models with 2 war despot, 6 cohort, and 2 goblins. Again, one of those cohort could be Gonbera, but double war despot, just moving cohort about, just going bonk on the things, could be fun. If you wanted to take a Dominator engine, I think this one, Cows on Fire, is probably one of the best builds you can do. You got the Despot double flamers just because they do really nice, consistent damage. Take the Dominator engine with the guns and 4 goblins. The Despot can move goblins about, and it's really about getting that Dominator where you want it to be and giving you this 5-inch no-go zone. Again, it's got that problem that it's got movement 5 and a massive base, so realistically and relatively speaking, is pretty slow. If something runs into it with like a cheap chaff, like a Skaven model, yeah, you're going to kill it, but you're kind of going to be stuck there. So that's always something you've got to think about. If you wanted to bring double Dominator engine, you can go 6 men, double Dominator, Goblins, Despot. That's something you can do. So, in conclusion, what have we got here with this warband? It's very hard to deny that they do not have the potential to do some real damage. It is very much combo orientated, where you want to use all your buffs on single targets, get that overwhelming damage off onto one target. So if you pour all of your abilities into your blunderbuss or into your Dominator engine, it will delete a thing from the field. Most of their abilities only work on the first attack action or one attack action. So that's really what they're trying to get you to do. Every turn, delete a thing, and then use your inbuilt toughness and defenses and all of that extra movement ability that you get from your war despot to kind of win the game that way. I think the Dominator engine, talking about that with flamers, has the potential to run away games if it's not played around properly. But I think normally, even if you're just building a normal warband, you should be sitting at 7 to 8 fighters to get the most damage potential out of those guns. And the main problem with the warband is, outside of those guns, they're mostly a bunch of mid-range fighters that can still die fairly quickly, despite the toughness 5, despite the 12 wounds. The battle trait, I think it's essential. You could say, I'm not going to use the battle trait, and then make a warband with like a despot, goblins, maybe a gun, and allies. But I don't think that will be as strong as just using the battle trait to get that +1 attack, strength, and crits. I think that's where we want to be. I think you want to be pure Horns of Hashut. Horns? Pure Helsmiths of Hashut. Both Bull Centaurs and Sentinels, they can spike very high if you stack their abilities, but you gotta watch out. They're only toughness 4, they're only 18 wounds, so way more glass cannony than like the big model would seem. Cohort and Gongs, I think, are surprisingly good value. So a very boring list. We've seen the one I've written with cohort spam. I think that'd be very boring, but I think it would be very effective because you're running 10 guys, you got movement tricks, you get bonus attacks, you got toughness 5. It's fine. I think that'll be okay. If you're playing against them, killing the Despot, the guns should be your #1 priority. Once you take down the blunderbusses and the flamers, they don't have that much damage. Once you take out the Despot, they don't have any movement tricks. So that's basically it. Also, talking about the Dominator engine, if your opponent is bringing one, the way to play around it is that its massive base and slow move are really, really big downsides. So you can block it with your fighters and just make sure it can't move anywhere, because if it can't move anywhere, it can't get within 5 inches, and if it can't get within 5, it's not going to shoot.